Welcome everyone to the City Council meeting for the City of Evans, February 18th, 2020. I'm Brian Rudy, the Mayor. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Rudy?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Clark?
Here.
Councilmember Johnson?
Present.
Councilmember Fear? Here. Councilmember Mortensen? Here. Councilmember Castle? Here. Councilmember Neal?
Present. Next item on the agenda is audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address City Council on any item not on the agenda this evening? Please step up to the podium and state your name and address.
My name is Rebecca Chacon, and I'm sorry. The address I'm at is 4133 West Service Road, Evans. I'm just wanting to know why your employees cannot get together and figure out what comes first when you try to start a business. Laura and I spoke about this because I'm getting too many questions, or had a lot of questions, but not enough answers. I got one person telling me one thing, one person telling me another, and I feel like you guys don't want my business here. I've been asked to go to LaSalle. I've had Greeley ask me to go to Greeley to put my business there, but I don't want to. I chose where I'm at. And I'm just really sad that the city is giving me such a hard time. I understand the landowner that I'm using and that I have is somebody who you guys are with a lot, I guess. But I'm the business, not the land. And I don't understand why the city employees can't get together. I've had the police at my place. I've had the fire department at my place. And no one seems to know what's going on. And all I want to know is, do you guys want small businesses here? I've spent $30,000 getting this place to look nice. My business is one of the first businesses you come south into Evans. And it looks so much better, and I don't know why no one can seem to get their act together to tell me exactly what I need to do. It's either that or it's going to get put up and it's going to look like trash again. And I don't want that. I don't want that for the city of Evans. I think I have a beautiful place. And it's a great business. I have people from Masonville, Colorado, Beaumont, Colorado, Denver, Colorado, Greeley, LaSalle, Eaton, Alt. They all are coming to my business to get their service done. And I have other towns say, why don't you get there? We'll take you. Without the hassles you guys are giving me. I just don't understand why somebody can't help me. Explain to me where I need to go, what I need to do. Instead, give me $1,000. The city's constantly $500 here, $1,000 here, $1,500 there. The more money I make, the more money you're taking from me as a small business to try and survive. I understand everything that's going on there. I do. But I think you guys all know the place I'm talking about. It's the little blue house that looks beautiful now. And we have so many more plans to make it prettier, to make it nicer, so that it's a place that the city can be proud of. I understand listening to you guys' agenda about all these big fancy places going in. We just want a nice little business. I understand you guys want all this stuff, but we can be pretty too. We are going to be nice if you guys allow, but I don't know where to go. That's why I'm here today. I don't know what to do. I'm sorry, I just don't. It's either that or I'm going to have to leave on April 1st. Board it all back up, and it's going to look like crap again because they're not going to take care of the property. Like I want to take care of the property so you guys can be proud of P3 Country Salon. It's cute. I don't expect to be a big gas station. I don't expect to be a big hotel. I don't expect to be Great Clips, Spur Clips, anything. Just a nice little family-owned salon that you guys can be proud of and that people come from all over. I even had clients from Iowa come in because their family heard about it. I just want you guys to be as proud and want my business there. Then I feel like I'm being pushed out.
Well, I do want to say, we do want your business. We do want you here in Evans. We are a very small business friendly. I'm sorry you're having issues, and I know what some of the issues are. Most of the issues are on a staff level, not on a city council level. But some of those issues, I do know what they are, and they're on permits we're trying to work through and this stuff, but I want to help you get to the right place that you need to be at. So before you leave tonight, how about myself and the city manager, Jim Becklenburg, set up a time and we can sit down with you, and he can have all the information ready for you, and we can lead you into the right direction. I know it seemed like the staff is really trying to be hard on you. They're really not. There are procedures that need to be followed to open a small business. And if that's what you're looking for and you're needing us to show you exactly what it is, that we would absolutely do that. I'll come and I'll have our city manager come as well. We'd love to set that meeting up with you and answer those questions for you, because you're right, it shouldn't be that hard. It should be pretty, this is what do you need? What do you need? Here it is. And we will have that meeting with you and get you all set. Jim, did you have something you were going to mention?
Just going to introduce myself. My name is Jim. I'm the city manager, and it is my responsibility to make sure that the requirements are coordinated among all of our departments, and I can tell that hasn't happened in a way that is understandable yet. So I appreciate the mayor's reaching out. I have my business card for you so that you can call me as hopefully you won't have more frustrations. But as you do, we can kind of work together to at least know what all the steps are. I know that you have a particularly difficult road with the property and some of the issues that are associated with the property where you are, but we do want to make sure that all of those, all the needs, all the standards are clear. And if we haven't done that, then that's my responsibility. I want to help make sure that you have what you need.
Yeah, 'cause I'm working as hard as I can, and I am doing everything. You guys come at me, I'm there. I'm doing it. I was told by I'm not even going to mention his name, to put money into the place because I'm not going to be able to stay. That's where I'm at right now. And that comes from somebody within the city. And I don't understand why he has to say that. And come in and I feel like I was being harassed by him. But it just can't be that way. You can't do that to somebody who's putting their whole life into a small business and wants to stay in Evans. And I live in Greeley. And I don't want to go to Greeley. I don't want to go to the South. Do you see what I'm saying? All I want is just a little support instead of just at me constantly.
Rebecca, I'm sorry to hear that you're still having problems, and I just hope that you will accept the mayor's and our city manager's reach to you to see if they can help settle things. And again, if I can do anything for you too, I'm happy to try our best. But yes, our mayor here,
Mr. Rooney.
Mayor Rooney here. I mean, I think he's very genuine, and we really want our staff to work with you. And I do know that a lot of the people, even in our neighborhood, use this salon and talk highly of you. So I really hope that you get together and get this solved so that we can keep you here.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I have till April 1st or TiVo's going to kick me out. So I don't have a lot of time.
Well, let's get together early next week and get this train on the tracks.
Yeah, I just need to know where I'm supposed to go. I feel like I'm just lost.
We want you here. We want you here past April 1st. So
and we want to help you.
Okay.
Jim, do you mind giving me your cards? We can set that up.
And if you guys haven't, you guys really got to stop in and see it. It is so cute. you. No, thank you. It's nice meeting you. So I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You know, sorry for your experience, and honestly, we're gonna try to make this better, and we're gonna help you. And like the mayor mentioned, he's gonna set a meeting to assist you, and we're gonna take care of this, okay?
That's okay, thank you.
Thank you. Better heart in it.
Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address city council on any item not on the agenda this evening? Seeing none. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion is set to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item 6, consent agenda. Item A, approval of the February 4th, 2020 City Council meeting minutes.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I second.
Motion is second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item 7, old business. Continuation of public hearing. Consideration of ordinance number 711-20, an ordinance to update the official zoning map of the city of Evans pursuant to zoning changes that occurred in 2019 and early 2020. I will reopen the public hearing and hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. This item was continued from your last meeting. This is largely an administrative action because council has taken the substantive zoning actions over the past few months. Per your code, the zoning map that is really the main tool used by most of the development community outside the city for learning about the city zoning. That map needs to be updated by ordinance and with a public hearing. So that's what we're requesting from you this evening. And with that, Mayor, that concludes staff comments.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in support of this issue? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition of this issue? Hearing none, there would be no rebuttal. Are there any questions that we need of staff?
I have questions.
No questions. I'll close the public hearing. Council discussion.
Looking at the map, it's a pretty good mix of, commercial, industrial, residential. It's a good balance, it looks to me, throughout the city and the zoning, so I'd be in support of it.
Any other discussion?
We have the map.
We do have the map.
We have a map. Yeah, it's pretty.
There's no other discussion. I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 711-20 as proposed.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 711-20. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item 8, new business. Consideration resolution number 5-2020. A resolution approving the storm drainage rates for 2020, and we'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the action item that's come out of a number of city council work sessions on storm drainage rates. The ordinance for council's consideration of different rate models, they came out of the 2018 infrastructure task force. It looked at both our roads and our stormwater needs. And the task force and also the council recognized that at that time there was only about a $5 difference between the stormwater utility rates paid by residential properties, most of which are smaller properties, more smaller parcels, and may take and manage relatively lesser amounts of stormwater, and our commercial properties and parcels, which are in most cases larger and are receiving much more stormwater and therefore take a larger part of the city's stormwater management program. So the charge was to come back with some rates that would better draw out those different impacts on our stormwater system. And we've had, I believe, 3 different work sessions on kind of the best way balance, and a couple meetings of your finance committee. And I think this rate model proposed to you tonight that you have in your staff reports is the product of those, of the work session, but it's really an intermediate product. A lot of the council discussion on the topic has kind of sharpened the need to go back and continue developing stormwater rates that are more based on impervious surface area of individual parcels. This model tonight, I think, is an intermediate step. It's us down the road, but it's not perfect yet. So we're going to keep trying to get more perfect on kind of allocating our stormwater costs based on impervious surface, especially in our commercial properties. But we have these rates for you tonight. For the record and for the public, I will just comment that the residential rate, well, for single-family homes or manufactured homes, would go from the current rate of $9.43 to the rate of $9.74, which is really consistent with what it would have, how it would have increased if it had increased the same rate of our other utilities for the year. And then commercial and industrial properties are will pay their assessment based on the size of their property, ranging from $24.85 for smaller commercial and industrial properties to $59.74 for large commercial and industrial properties of 45,000 square feet and larger. That's to reflect the larger parcels and stormwater demand. And one of the changes that we have for you to consider tonight is that multifamily properties would be treated the same as those commercials based on their parcel size and not on their individual units. With that, Mayor, our Finance Director, Jackie Trout, is here to answer any questions that you might have. And we have a resolution establishing fees for your consideration.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone have questions for Jackie or Jim?
No questions. Most of my questions were asked.
Yep.
I just want to say thank you for making this a stepping stone model and continuing to do the research on the direction that we asked during the work sessions. This is a very good start. I just don't want it to be an end, and it sounds from what you had to say that this is indeed the beginning, and that we will continue to make this a more perfect model.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 05-2020.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 5-2020. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item B, consideration of award of lagoon decommissioning engineering contract. More from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Now that we have a still fairly new wastewater treatment plant located where it is, we have the follow-up challenge with our old plant of decommissioning that plant. So there are a number of state regulations with which we need to comply, and this step tonight would take the first step to design and make sure that we're following all of those regulations. And with that, I'll ask our city engineer, Mark Oberschmidt, to give a brief summary of the project and the process for the study.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. So we advertised this for bids for a consultant to come in and help us with the decommissioning. We had 5 consultants show up at the pre-bid, but only one of the consultants actually delivered an actual proposal. The proposal initially came in over what we originally budgeted of $100,000. So we sat down with the consultant and called CDPHE to outline, get a better feel of what the actual scope needed to be in order to decommission the lagoons. But we also are looking at, in addition to that, a second permit to expand one of the lagoons, but raise it up to allow it to be used for overflow from the lift station in case the station should go down. So the water the effluent would go into this higher pond, but a separate permitting process that we need to go through as part of that. So in looking at that, and then looking at the current money that we have available from the state revolving fund that we're associated with wastewater treatment plant expansion, we worked out a final scope and fee to do both projects, decommission the two lagoons and then expand the southernmost lagoon to accommodate our needs for an overflow, but also reduce our risk in terms of groundwater lifting the lagoon bottom and tearing the liner, so to speak. If we tear that liner, then that effluent would go into groundwater and we would have issues environmentally. So we worked out that, and we worked out a final scope and fee. We have expertise in this area. We have a geotechnical engineer that's going to help us both with the groundwater and the structural issues that we need to do with the emergency overflow. And we think at the price that they've given us, it's underneath the amount of money that we have available from the state revolving fund. And I think it will give us a plan to do the construction for the project. And I'd be happy to answer your question.
Thank you. Questions of staff?
So you said you had 5 come out and look at the project, but only 1 put in the bid. Do you know why the others decided not to?
I think the other one didn't have, lagoon decommissioning is kind of an interesting animal, especially this particular one, because we have very good groundwater in the area. And the other folks that were there didn't have the groundwater experience and or expertise to deal with it. And that's why this Bronco Environmental, they do have a background in groundwater engineering as well as extensive background in environmental engineering.
I just have a comment. Mark has done a few presentations here, and I would like to commend him. He's one of the few people that have actually mentioned groundwater, and I'm just happy that you are working with any contractors and have the knowledge that there is a groundwater issue in that area and are working to address it. I just wanted to point out that that's very commendable. Thank you.
Well, I get the information from Robbie because he tells me the groundwater. And he's had to deal with it, so I'm helping him to reduce his problems.
All right, well, take the credit.
I like to take the credit when it's credit due. Thank you.
That's great.
Any other questions or comments of staff?
This is pretty straightforward.
Yep, sounds good. If not, entertain a motion.
I move to award the lagoon decommissioning contract to Bronco Environmental in the amount of $176,550 with a not to exceed contract authority amount of $203,907 to authorize the mayor's signature on the contract and to direct staff to return to council with a corresponding amendment in the next budget amendment ordinance.
Second. I have a motion and a second to award the lagoon decommissioning contract to Bronco Environmental in the amount of $176,550 with a not to exceed contract authority amount of $203,907 and authorize the mayor's signature on the contract and to direct staff to return to council with a corresponding amendment in the next budget amendment ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Item D, public hearing. Item C, consideration award of bid 2020 crack sealing contract. And we'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. The council is aware of the annual budget for our street maintenance this year. Resurfacing is $850,000, a little higher than our normal $600 because of some extra revenue that we had. But the first and most primary treatment that we use on our roads that just helps to keep the roads free from getting worse in some cases is crack sealing. And we have, within that total budget, we have $150,000 earmarked for crack sealing, and we're getting that program going earlier this year, which is good. And I'll ask our city engineer, Mark Overschmidt, to summarize the project and the bidding process.
Thank you, Jim. Mr. Mayor, members of council, received 4 bids for this project. The idea, we have 12 priority areas, and we'll basically work down through those areas and get as much of the $150,000 spread around the city as possible. The 4 bids came in very, very close. The top 2 bidders were essentially identical for the actual crack sealing itself, but the crest coat came in a little lower on the plastic, which is used for larger cracks, 3 inches and wider. And Leon has really developed a good idea of the system of roads and where the work needs to be done. He's my history, so to speak, because he's been here a lot longer than I have, and he drives these roads a little more than I do. So he knows where the roads need to be worked on, and he's helped me develop the plan. And our goal is to get to all three of those areas, but we'll take the 150,000 as far as we possibly can. And we'll recommend Crasco with first contract. They actually just did on a project up in Greeley. They came in second, just by a little bit, and the audit, the firm that beat them was an out-of-state firm, so there's a possibility that maybe doing work for both Greeley and Evans over the next few months, because there's a requirement about out-of-state firms supplying at least, I believe it's 80% of the people have to be local. And they're well-respected firm, and I met Steve for the first time today, and I like what he had to say.
Thank you. Questions of staff?
Yeah, in that case, if they're going to have another job, are they going to be spread thin?
No, he told us he would take care of us. He likes working with us, he likes working with Leon, because he and Leon they understand our road system, and they work out and have plans, but Leon just says, Steve, go, and if you have a question, call me, and he doesn't get too many questions. So Leon has it laid out pretty well.
All right, I just don't want to be in the situation where we're put on the back burner just because we may be smaller fish in the ocean here.
Well, we called him this afternoon and had him come over because we had a couple questions, and he came over, so I don't think we're a small fish stand.
Good.
Other questions or comments? No. Seeing none, I entertain a motion.
I move toward the 2020 crack seal contract to Crasco LLC in the amount of $150,000 and to authorize the mayor's signature on the contract. Second.
I have a motion and a second to award 2020 crack seal contract to Carrasco LLC, the amount of $150,000, and authorize the mayor's signature on the contract. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you. Next item, item D, public hearing. Consideration of ordinance number 712-20, an ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 1.14 of the Evans Municipal Code. I will open the public hearing and hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a follow-up item from a work session you conducted at your last meeting, one prior, related to our compliance with the Fair Campaign Practices Act. And our city attorney, Scott Cobb, has prepared an ordinance that he'll summarize.
All right. Mayor, members of council, this does relate to the Fair Campaign Practices Act that we talked about a couple of meetings ago. Historically, Colorado Secretary of State has considered election challenges and election complaints. And about 2 years ago, her obligation to do that is based in Section 28 or Article 28 of the Colorado Constitution, which says that she's supposed to hear and determine those complaints using an administrative logic. About 2 years ago, the Secretary of State decided that she would promulgate a rule that says if it is a municipal election, then those needed to be filed with the municipal clerk, the city clerk, rather than the state, Secretary of State. That caused some brouhaha for a while, and then the state legislature passed a state statute that said, yes, if it's a municipal election and somebody filed a complaint, that complaint is to be filed with the city clerk, not the state's Secretary of State. So there's been some litigation back and forth, discussion among municipal attorneys as well as the municipal clerks, and it's in sort of a state of unrest right now. What we have done is we have prepared this ordinance that says if there is a municipal election challenge, that it will be filed with the city clerk and that it will then be referred to the municipal judge for consideration and resolution. And so there are really two concerns that are being addressed by this ordinance. One is this sort of edict from the Secretary of State that says she's not going to consider these complaints. And the other is that there is, some feel, sort of an inherent, not necessarily a conflict of interest, but if it's a municipal election complaint about one of you and your city clerk is handling it, there's concerns that the city clerk may not feel comfortable doing that. Not just your city clerk, but city clerks in general. So, as I say, this ordinance says that the complaint will be filed with the city clerk, but it will be referred to the municipal judge for hearing and resolution. And I anticipate that eventually we're going to undo this ordinance because somebody is in the process. Well, we know that the Secretary of State, even though there's still this constitutional provision that says she's supposed to do it, We know she is still refusing to do it because she has just refused an election complaint out of Steamboat and another one out of, well, she did one out of Grand Junction, but then there was another recent one as well. So to sort of avoid the problem and make sure that there is a process in place, this ordinance is set up to handle any election complaints that rise out of an Evans municipal election. What we anticipate happening over the next 2 or 3 years is that somebody's going to challenge it again, go back to court and say, look, legislature, you said it to be filed with the city clerk, but the Constitution says it's to be filed with the Secretary of State, and we think the Constitution trumps the state legislature's statute. So this is a safety measure to make sure that the city of Evans can operate and handle election complaints until this all gets resolved eventually through the courts. With that confusing history, I'll be glad to answer questions.
Thank you, Scott. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this issue? Seeing none, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to this issue? No rebuttal to those. Now, questions of staff.
I have none. It's a confusing piece of legislation that he's trying to make sense of, so.
And I know this issue came up in the election in 2006 with Kim Betts. When Kim Betts was the city clerk, there was some kind of an issue, and she was supposed to resolve it instead of the state. And I don't know how it was resolved, but how they figured it out, but they did something.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you anticipating the problem and trying to get something set up in place.
Well, the clerk, that's your city clerk. She's the one that brought us to our attention and said, we need to fix this before it becomes a problem.
She was probably hoping for a different result. Yeah.
Are there any other questions that need to be answered by staff? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing now. Council discussion. Everybody good?
Pretty straightforward.
I'll entertain the motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 712-20.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 712-20. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
9, report city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one fun thing to mention tonight that as council knows, our police department is a major supporter of Special Olympics Colorado, with all of the proceeds going, staying in northeastern Colorado to help make the Special Olympics events happen successfully. One of the big fundraisers each year is the Polar Plunge. This year's Polar Plunge will take place on March 7th. And I just want to mention that I know that the police chief, if his bionic knees and shoulder allow, as well as yours truly, and I know a number of police officers will be plunging this year in the cold water for that event. So if anyone,
I actually committed to that too. I'm in.
all right, got the mayor. So anyone else is welcome. Great event. It's a lot of excitement. There's lots of people there, but it's really a fundraiser. So if anyone's interested, we can certainly. I believe the website is the link to the donation website is on the city's website, but you can also ask the chief or I for information on how to donate, because we are trying to help that organization as much as we can. That's all I have, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. The attorney?
I'm an item for executive session, but other than that, I have a report.
Thank you. Next
Mr.
item.
Mayor, yes, I would like to challenge the council to not only donate but participate in this.
I'll jump in.
So,
Okay,
pardon?
I'll jump in.
To jump in. And we need to, I think that the police department, aren't they involved in a challenge to get the most money, raise the most money and get the most people to jump, chief?
There's no challenge with small police departments, yes.
Not only will I jump in once, I'll jump in twice.
You can do it for me, because I will gladly donate. I actually will be out of town, so I will gladly donate money, but
We'll
you
send
probably
also
count me out of
information,
that.
donations, and participation if you
Yeah,
want.
there you go.
Yeah.
Body experience.
I'm sure that would kill me.
Oh, yeah, I think they're doing it at Budweiser, aren't they?
It was at the Budweiser Center. I can't think of the name of the brewery in Fort Collins where it is this year. Yeah. Yeah, we'll send that out to you.
If it's at Budweiser, it's in a pool and it's not nearly as cold as running across the sand barefooted into the cold lake or river. I guarantee you. I've been it, so.
All right, next item on the agenda is audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address city council on any item? Seeing none, we have an executive session.
I move to go into executive session to receive legal advice from the city attorney on specific legal questions and determine the city's position related to the city's tax lien on delinquent properties pursuant to CRS 24-6-42, section 4, subsections B and E.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to go to executive session. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you for being here tonight. I look forward to talking to you, man.